The member for Denison.
Speaker, my question is to the Minister for the Environment. Minister, regrettably the Tasmanian government is pursuing legislation to allow logging in 356,000 hectares of protected forests. These forests contain large areas of habitat that are critical to the survival of nationally listed threatened species, wildlife that the minister is responsible for protecting. Can the minister outline what steps he is taking to prevent damage to this habitat, including for the critically endangered swift parrot and for the giant freshwater lobster? And can the minister update the House on the Tasmanian government's response to the freshwater lobster recovery plan, which proposes permanently reserving 30,000 hectares of the publicly owned reserves that are now proposed for logging by the Tasmanian government?
The Minister for the Environment and Energy.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. I thank the member for Denison for his question, and I tell that the members of this House and the member for Denison that the Turnbull government is doing more to protect the threatened species of our country than any government prior to it. Mr Speaker, we appointed the first ever threatened species commissioner, Mr Gregory Andrews, who's been able to galvanise more than $210 million, including $150 million to prevent habitat destruction. We've launched the first ever threatened species strategy. We've launched the first ever threatened species recovery fund. And just last month I was at Taronga Zoo to launch the first ever threatened species prospectus, which is protecting our quolls and our bilbies and our helmeted honeyeaters, Mr Speaker. So you asked me about the swift parrot, Mr Speaker, and we are concerned about it because it was recently uplisted to the critically endangered list. And we're investing $8 million across Tasmania, New South Wales and Victoria to prevent habitat destruction. This includes the constructions of hundreds of nest boxes, which will prevent it against the predatory players like the helmeted the sugar glider, Mr Speaker. Now, Mr Speaker, we're also concerned about the freshwater crayfish and the freshwater lobster, and we have put in place our own national recovery plan, and we have worked to prevent habitat destruction, including the weeds at $350,000 to prevent invasive weed species, and a number of other things that we are doing. Now, we understand when it comes to forests that the regional forest agreements have been in place for some 2 decades, and they work well because we need a balance between ensuring sufficient supply of resource while also ensuring that we protect our environment and our endangered species. So we will continue to work with the Tasmanian government and protect our endangered species through the various measures that we have.